der Leyen has also my personal full support for this mandate. We have different roles, but together we delivered 100% EPP for the future of Europe. The EPP family has gone through a very challenging period in the last years. I have to say, when I became party president, we only had 7 prime ministers and chancellors and head of states and government on the EPP table. Today we have 12, and most probably we will have in June this year 14 prime ministers, head of states and government in our ranks. So I can tell you the EPP is back. People trust in us. The people can count on us, especially in times of big challenges. We will do our campaigning, first of all, with our achievements, where EPP and Ursula von der Leyen kept Europe together on COVID times, in the Ukraine war, on the Green Deal and on the migration, on the digital agenda. We were leading the European Union in a good direction. With these achievements, we can do our campaign based on trust that we are experienced in crisis management, that Ursula von der Leyen is leading in a good way. We live now in a world of full uncertainty, and that's why the main message from EPP is we want to guarantee stability in Europe, certainty in Europe. And the two big messages we have there in front of us is security and prosperity. For example, the idea of a defense commissioner is also embedded in our electoral manifesto, so also 100% EPP. The EPP is asking for a security deal for the next 5 years in Europe. And the second thing is Europeans want to have safe jobs, decent income, and therefore we need strong companies, industries, and innovative economies. We will guarantee also with this decision of supporting Ursula von der Leyen a democratic process. I myself and we as EPP, we believe deeply in this idea of lead candidates and presenting people before the elections. And with the decision to nominate in Bucharest the lead candidate, we guarantee this process. It's crucial to give the people a voice in deciding about the future of Europe. And finally, let me underline that we will present next to the lead candidate in Bucharest also a strong manifesto, a strong idea for the future of Europe, about tomorrow, about the tomorrow of Europe. The political assemblies tomorrow will decide about the proposal on this manifesto, so the content is also work in progress and will be delivered in Bucharest. The people can count on us, and we will show leadership, Ursula von der Leyen as lead candidate, but also with the whole team, the 12 prime ministers. And I also want to mention Roberta Metsola, where we are very proud to have the President of the European Parliament, also a strong female leader of an EU institution in our ranks. We will show leadership for Europe, and we ask then the people for support in the elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful, Manfred, for the wave of support I felt and the warm reception in the EPP Group. And I'm very much looking forward now to the weeks where we're going to work intensively together. And I thank you for the excellent cooperation that we had over the last 5 years. When I ran in 2019, I did it because I deeply believed in Europe. There's so much that happened in between. And we went through challenging times. And these past 5 years not only taught me a lot about my passion for the European Union, but what I also learned is how much this Europe can deliver to its people. And from the beginning on, the mandate, as you said, was very challenging. It started actually with Brexit. I tend to forget that, but this was the first month of my mandate. I was not even 100 days in office when WHO declared COVID a pandemic. This was a terrible time at the beginning. But together with the Parliament and the Member States, we then had to break completely new ground. And in the result, we defeated the virus because we stood together. We managed to keep our single market functioning. And we came out of this very deep crisis even stronger than we had been at the very beginning. Because we managed also to avert a severe economic recession. Think of Next Generation EU, the 800 billion investment plan that smoothened the hit by the lockdowns, and we came out much better than we were before, funding a cleaner and more digital economy. Think of the semiconductor production that we brought back to the European Union, or the battery technology, or clean hydrogen. So in other words, We were able during this time to prepare the European Union already for the future. And then, amidst the economic recovery, Russia invaded Ukraine. Putin started the biggest land war in Europe since 1945. And once again, Europe stood united, acted immediately, and acted decisively. We stood by Ukraine from day one on. I have not forgotten how Putin tried to blackmail us by exploiting our Russian gas dependency, and we stood firm together. We went through the biggest energy crisis in the last 40 years, but we managed to turn the challenge into an opportunity. We diversified away to like-minded friends and partners like the United States or Norway, for example. We increased our energy efficiency, and most importantly, we massively invested in clean and homegrown energy. So today, Europe is far closer to energy resilience than it has ever been. And at the same time, we know that a lot of work is ahead of us. In fact, we have to adapt our competitiveness to the new conditions. We have to boost prosperity in the European Union. We must achieve the climate targets, and we have to do it with the people and with the business sector. Our businesses are fully supported of the climate objectives. What they want to discuss is not the what about the target, but the how we are getting there. And this is the period where, with the structured dialogues, we try to discuss how, in a tailor-made approach, we can give every industry sector the opportunity to reach the goals we have accepted together. Of course, digitalization helps a lot in this case. We have to exploit the opportunities offered by artificial intelligence, and as important as exploiting the opportunities of artificial intelligence is that we need to link it with the principles of a social market economy. The second big topic is security. And here, let me have a brief look at the topic of defense. Citizens want more Europe in defense. They want us to invest more. They want us to invest better. They want us to invest European and smarter. And they want us to remain transatlantic without any question, but to become more European. But I also want to look at security in a wider sense. Citizens want to be safe on our streets. They want protection from poverty and illness, and they want to know who takes care of them when they are old. People want a society where everyone plays by the rules and where the rule of law is respected, where the media is free and the judiciary is free, where the corrupt and criminals are held to account, where we are working to build a globally competitive and clean industry and at the same time step up our fight against climate change. And this is what Europe stands for. But above all, we have to protect what makes Europe unique and strong, and that is our democracy, and these are our values. We are a union of 27 countries, and the appeal of this union is so great that many other states want to join deliberately, from the Western Balkans to Ukraine. And this is Europe's ultimate success. And we must continue to defend it against those who want to divide us, the Eurosceptics and Putin's friends, be it from the inside or from the outside. We must keep our democracies strong. I'm convinced that together we will be successful, and that is the task I'm very much looking forward to. Thank you very much.
We'll take now a few questions. The Ukrainian presidency, I promise her the first question.
Thank you, Pedro. News agency Interfax Ukraine, Irina Sommer. Madam President, are you going to campaign personally? And if yes, are you going to resign as president? And question for both of you. If not this war, Ukraine also supposed to hold the election in March of this year. And the presidential term for Mr. Zelensky will expire already in May. Almost the same situation with the Ukrainian parliament. On your opinion, as European politician, what could be acceptable and the best European solution for a situation like this? Thank you.
So, of course, it is very clear that on one hand, I have my role as president of the European Commission, and I have to strictly divide or separate this role from the role of lead candidate of EPP and campaigning. We have a whole set of rules within the Commission that dated from former times already, which we have updated and strengthened. So it's clarity, both roles have to be absolutely separated. What elections is concerned in Ukraine, this is a domestic matter of Ukraine, so not for me to comment.
The same on the perspective of Ukraine. Again, that's domestic. But let me underline that from an EPP point of view, I'm, as an EPP president, quite proud that Roberta Metsola was the first traveling to Kiev after the war began. Ursula von der Leyen was leading the debate about the support for Ukraine, now the 50 billion additional money, money security and safety certainty for the next years is thanks to Ursula's engagement, and all of the enlargement process is thanks to Ursula von der Leyen's engagement. Though EPP is the party of Ukraine, is a party of being friends of Ukraine. And we want to underline this because on the Bucharest Congress we also will put forward a plan for victory. We have to re-strengthen now. We have to bring now new dynamic in the support for Ukraine in this moment of time. That's crucial.
I have the Estonian TV.
Thank you for the floor. Josef Berg from Estonian Public Broadcasting. You've spoken about the need for a commissioner on defense, and perhaps that person should come from Eastern Europe. To Estonian, that sounds like tailor-made position for Prime Minister Kaja Kallas. Would you see her having position in your next commission, holding maybe that position? And could you also describe which kind of powers should this position hold? Thank you.
So, of course, we're not detailing out in every little form the different positions or portfolios that commissioners have in the next mandate. But my view on a commissioner for defense and security is that he or she is responsible for the defense industrial base. It is a core competence of the Commission, the industry and the single market. Of course, R&D plays a big role in that too, research and development. This is one of the main topics that accompanies the strengthening of the defense industrial base. But I think we also have to look at, as I just described, security in a wider sense. So the preparedness of the European Union for different shocks coming from outside. The security also against natural catastrophe and the solidarity to stand there. Our civil protection mechanism is a hallmark that shows how important that is, for example. What personalities are concerned, this is too early to discuss anything about that. But this attitude of preparedness and this knowledge that everybody can contribute to security is one of the main tasks ahead of us.
If you allow me to add, the question on personalities is for the Commission absolutely too early, as Commission President said. For the leading personalities, again, I'm quite proud to have two presidents in the EPP family where we can show this kind of leadership, where we have strong personalities. That is, I would say, also for the campaign in front of us, a strong advantage compared with the socialists and with the liberal team, where we don't have clarity in this moment of time. From an EPP point of view, we have clarity with two strong ladies. And on the defense field, let me just underline that on the long run, 330 or 40 million Americans will not defend more than 400 million Europeans. So we have to take over our responsibilities. That's the main message of today, and we would save billions of European taxpayers' money if we would follow the proposal now from Ursula von der Leyen to come to a common market on defense goods and products there. That would save a lot of money. We would be more efficient, and that is exactly what is now needed to do.
Claire, but you use the micro.
Thank you. Thank you, Pedro. Klaus Kam from Table Media. Ich werde meine Frage auf Deutsch stellen, aber...
But I will answer in English anyhow.
You promised me in English.
In English, there's too much complaints behind me, so...
Pressure's on.
CDU and CSU werden mit Forderungen nach Abwicklung des Verbrenneraus in den Wahlkampf ziehen. How do you position yourself as a Spitzenkandidatin?
We do have a very clear situation, state of play. As we know, we have the law agreed that is that by 2035 there has to be zero emission. And there's a proposal by the Commission now with the Council to give a special role to e-fuels. Very important is in 2026 is a review on the whole matter. So the discussion has taken place. The different proposals have been presented and are on their way. But I think often forgotten is that a state of play and a review will take place in 2026 to make sure that there is openness what technology is concerned, that there are choices for the consumers, but also choices, of course, for the industry where they want to invest in and what the mobility of the future is for them.
And for the Green Deal, let me underline that as Europeans, we are proud Europeans about what we do in the Green Deal. Also for me as a political leader of the EPP, we are the party of Green Deal. We do the Green Deal under the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen. So, for example, on the Climate Act, the most important decision in this regard, EPP voted in favor, Greens voted against. So we have an ownership on this. We draw the line and the direction in which we have to go. And that's why I want to keep also in the election campaign the ownership, that the Green Deal is an EPP deal, and we do this in the interest of future generations.
I have Virginie that promised me to ask the questions in English.
No, not in French, I know. Maybe in French, but... well, actually, I've got two questions, because one is for another French journalist. So the first one is about enlargement to Ukraine. I wanted to know if you think that an intergovernmental conference could take place before the European election, and if the negotiation framework could be adopted before the European election. That's the first question. And my second question regards the political majority in the European Parliament, which will come after the elections. Do you think yourself, as let's say you would be the next president of the Commission, could work with a parliamentary majority, including the ECR or some parts of the ECR? Is it something which would be possible for you? I know you said no ID, no RN, no AFD, and so on, but what about ECR, please?
So what enlargement is concerned, we are making excellent progress on the screening process. That is very good. And we're still working on the negotiation framework. My best guess is that it will not be ready before the European election, but afterwards, because if I see the development of the different negotiation positions, this will take its time. But I guess around summer, beginning of summer, we're going to be ready. What the second question is concerned for me is important, that I work with pro-European, pro-NATO, pro-Ukrainian, clearly supporters of our democratic values groups. So it is more the question, what is the content? And you know that every European election brings a change in the composition of different political parties and different political groups. So the content counts, and those who are defending democracy against the Eurosceptics, and those who are defending our values against Putin's friends, these are the ones with which I want to work, and I know I can work with.
And based on the current situation, I just want to remind everyone that in the current European Parliament, we only had a tight majority in favor of electing Ursula von der Leyen in this mandate. And we have now polls European-wide which are quite worrisome, because those who are the parties who are campaigning against Europe, who are the friends of Putin, are getting stronger and stronger. And that is extremely worrisome for us as EPP to keep stability. So my message is, as EPP leader, take the elections serious. please, dear citizens, take the election serious. A lot is at stake. And our red line is clearly defined. As Ursula said it, it is about yes to Europe, it is about yes to Ukraine, and it is about yes to rule of law, the three key principles which we stand for. And that is our red line to all extremists on this continent. They can never be a partner of us. You will not be surprised when I say that I want to have the EPP as strong as possible, and I want to see the EPP in a situation that no one can anymore govern against the EPP votes in the next European Parliament. That is a goal which is possible to achieve, possible to be achieved. That is what we strategically want to see, that we have a key position in the next European Parliament, but always based on the cooperation among the democratic pro-European forces.
David.
Yes. Thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio. Apology to insist on the issue of Eurosceptics and the ECR. And to ask you to name and shame, because inside the ECR there are Eurosceptics, there are parties against the rule of law, as the Justice and Law Party in Poland. There are Putin friends, as La Reconquête, which entered last week in this group, and maybe there will be Fidesz from Hungary. So basically, I would like to know, and I think that all European citizens should know, if you are ready to make a coalition with the ECR group in the next mandate. Thank you very much.
You defined already very well that against rule of law, impossible. Putin's friends, impossible. So there has to be a very clear positioning of the politicians that are, and we do not know who is forming ECR after the elections, what groups will leave ECR and, for example, join EPP, which is also possible. But the cutoff line is, do you stand for democracy? Do you defend our values? Are you very firm in the rule of law? Are you supporting Ukraine? And are you fighting against Putin's attempt to weaken and divide Europe? And these answers have to be very clear.
They are simply not delivering because having the camp in mind, they have no common understanding. We have Putin's friends there. We have those who are against Putin there. But in a lot of issues, no common understanding about what to do. And what I can see already is a development of an internal, quite cruel fight. For example, when Viktor Orban, and I have personally a long history with him, after Viktor Orban said that he wants to join ECR, then immediately the Czech delegation in ECR said publicly, we don't want to be in one camp with Viktor. The Swedish and Finnish populistic parties there said immediately, thanks to due to the NATO debate, we don't want to be in one camp with Viktor Orban. So we see the ongoing quarrels there, the ongoing fights, the inner fights there. And our message is, they will not deliver on your concerns, dear citizens. They will not deliver on this. And that's why please trust in those who gave the proof already that they are good in crisis management, who can give a good future for Europe. And that's EPP. So our red line is clear. Our red line is clear. And if you allow me to say that this Europe is our Europe, it's a Christian democratic Europe. It's built up on Schuman, Adenauer, De Gasperi. We are the founding party of this continent, of the founding ideas, together then with socialists and liberal parties. That's why we'll never allow that someone is weakening or even destroying our European Union.
One last question for Laura, which was waiting.
Actually, David and Virginie asked already what I was going to ask. So.
Yes. Hello. You mentioned that many countries want to join the European Union. If you secure the second term as President of the European Commission, will enlargement towards Serbia and the rest of the Western Balkans be one of your priorities? And the second question is, when can Serbia count on the fund from a growth plan for Western Balkans? Thank you.
Yes. So I have always been a strong supporter of enlargement, while saying very clearly it's a merits-based process. So I keep insisting on that one. But it is good to see how the Western Balkans, but also, of course, Ukraine and Moldova, for example, are doing everything possible to do the necessary reforms and to move towards the European Union. So you will, of course, find me in the potentially next mandate as a strong supporter of the enlargement towards the Western Balkan. Your second question was on?
On growth plan.
The growth plan, sorry, yes. And the growth plan is exactly a very clear message to that. We have the funding. That was very important, that in the midterm review was also included the funding for the growth plan. There was the 50 billion for Ukraine, but also the funding for the growth plan. So we have the means now in the European Commission. We are just in the process to detail out the growth plan with the 6 Western Balkan countries on what kind of reforms are coupled to what kind of investment and how their access to the European single market is. The work is ongoing very well, so there's a lot of interest and a lot of enthusiasm in the Western Balkan countries. So the moment we're done with the basic principles, the first disbursement can flow.
Thank you very much. Sorry, but we don't have time for more.